My name is Haley Ross, 33, and the text from Mom popped up like a splinter. We won't make it to your housewarming. Your brother just moved as well. I thumbed back. It's okay, and locked the screen before the burn spread. They imagined a shoebox rental, maybe a patio with plastic chairs. They never guessed my house was a $1.5 million villa in Cherry Creek, Denver, open-plan glass infinity pool, the front range glowing through every pane. I threw the party anyway. 50 guests, music, my cousin Riley firing off pics and tagging me on Facebook new home vibes. Sunrise brought the avalanche 28 missed calls, Dad demanding square footage. Chase sliding in with a $50,000 business loan ask. 7 years after I left Cleveland with $8,000 and an overheating laptop, the family I outgrew finally saw the life I built solo. If your relatives ever counted you out, smash like and subscribe. This ride turns ugly and the finale will floor you. Years before any of this blew up, my days started with the whine of a table saw and ended with splinters under my nails. Ross Woodworks sat on a gritty stretch of Cleveland's east side, a low brick building stacked with oak planks and the ghosts of 3 generations. At 13, I could cross-cut a board cleaner than the apprentices twice my age, and Vincent Ross, my father, paraded me past customers like a trophy. He mapped the future in pencil on butcher paper, the shop, the inventory, the name above the door, all handed down intact. The catch was the person he imagined running it barely showed up. Chase Ross, my brother, 2 years behind me, treated the place like background noise for his gaming headset. From the moment he could walk, Dad carved out exceptions. My 8th birthday brought a junior tool set. Chase got a remote control truck that cost twice as much. I mowed the lawn every Saturday. He collected allowance for supervising from the porch swing. Report cards arrived and Dad framed Chase's C average next to my straight A's, claiming boys need confidence more than grades. Mom balanced the books without comment, her silence another layer of varnish over the imbalance. Computers crept into my world anyway. I scavenged an old laptop from the scrap pile, someone traded it for a repaired rocking chair, and installed SketchUp during slow afternoons. I designed modular shelving that collapsed flat for shipping rendered finishes in real time and saved every file under generic names so Dad wouldn't notice. When I finally showed him a virtual tour of a potential showroom expansion, he leaned over my shoulder, frowned at the glowing screen, and declared, "Wood needed fingerprints, not pixels." The idea died on the spot. Chase never had to pitch. Dad bought him a new console the same week. High school widened the gap. I worked summers staining cabinets until my fingers pruned. Chase clocked in for photo ops when customers toured, then vanished to friends' pools. Dad paid his community college tuition in full, while I scraped scholarships and part-time shifts. My ideas for an online catalog gathered dust in a folder labeled Future Projects. Chase's suggestion to add neon signs to the storefront got a prototype within a month. Mom mediated with gentle reminders that the business needs a face always Chase's. College became the next checkpoint. I pushed for a program blending design and tech. Dad enrolled me in the local state school for business management with a focus on lumber supply chains, footing only half the bill. Chase dropped out after 1 semester, moved back home, and Dad handed him a company truck for deliveries he'd learn eventually. Mom suggested I help your brother adjust by covering his weekend shifts. At 22, I walked across the stage clutching a diploma that felt like borrowed armor. Dad greeted me with a handshake and a new title plaque, Vice President of Operations. Chase got the corner office with the window and no title at all. I pitched an online configurator where customers mixed stains and hardware from home, shot down as unnecessary. Suggested targeted ads on social platforms, dismissed as a fad. Proposed inventory software to replace the handwritten ledgers, met with a lecture on how paper never crashed. Meanwhile, Chase floated through part-time hours, clocked out early for concerts, and still collected compliments on carrying the family name. Dad bought him a downtown condo close to the shop for convenience the year I still rented a studio with 3 roommates. The imbalance settled in my stomach like undigested varnish. One spring evening, I stayed late to finish a custom order, the shop empty except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Dust motes drifted through the beams like slow-motion snow, and I realized 30 more years here would sand me down to nothing. I opened a blank document, typed my resignation in plain font, and printed it on the machine that always ate the corners. The next morning, I placed the page on Dad's desk beside his coffee. He read it once, twice, then crumpled it without a word at first. When the yelling started, it rattled the hanging clamps on the wall. Mom hovered in the doorway, twisting a measuring tape, eyes wet but silent. Chase watched from the loading dock, thumbs hooked in his pockets, smirking like he'd inherited the keys already. I grabbed my coat, walked out with one suitcase, and never looked back. One bitter January morning, soon after the plane touched down in Denver with $8,000 left in my account and frost on the windows, I found a shared apartment in Capitol Hill through an online ad, $650 a month, for a closet-sized room with a hot plate and a lock that stuck. My first gig as a junior developer paid $58,000 a year, enough to cover basics if I skipped everything else. The office sat in a converted warehouse downtown filled with mismatched desks and the constant ping of Slack notifications. Jenna Long, my new boss, ran a tight ship focused on basic e-commerce sites for local retailers. She spotted my knack for layout mocks during a team sprint and pulled me aside after hours. "You think in dimensions," she said, handing over access to their AR sandbox. I dove in nights, teaching myself Unity on a second-hand monitor, building crude overlays that let users drag virtual chairs across their camera feed. Progress felt incremental, measured in bug fixes and coffee refills. Spring thawed the sidewalks and brought a weekend hackathon in a Lodo loft. I signed up solo, armed with energy drinks and a half-baked demo. That's where I met Derek Hahn, a UX specialist with quick sketches and quicker feedback. We teamed up on the spot, merging my AR engine with his interface flow to create Design Snap, a tool letting shoppers preview furniture in their actual space before purchase. We coded through the night, fueled by vending machine burritos, and presented a working prototype to sleepy judges at dawn. No prize, but the spark caught. Derek and I kept iterating after the event, meeting in cafes between day jobs. We refined the scaling algorithm so sofas didn't clip through walls, added texture mapping for accurate grain patterns, and tested on our own cramped apartments. Expenses piled faster than revenue: server costs, app store fees, freelance illustrations when our designs looked too rough. I cut groceries to bulk oats, skipped social outings, and refreshed the bank app like it might magically refill. 1 month, the balance dipped below rent. I sold my old gaming console for breathing room. Near misses became routine. A potential investor ghosted after 3 promising calls. Derek's freelance dried up, forcing him to crash on my floor when his lease ended. We debated shutting down over takeout that neither of us could afford. Instead, we stripped features to the bone, focused on core placement accuracy, and cold-pitched every independent store within driving distance. Responses trickled: polite nose radio silence, one angry voicemail about spam, then a furniture outlet in Aurora bit. The owner needed a digital edge against big box chains and agreed to an $8,000 pilot for 6 months. I drove the contract myself, windows down, despite the chill heart racing faster than the engine. The check cleared, buying us runway to hire a part-time tester and upgrade servers. Stores trickled in after 2 in Boulder, 5 in Colorado Springs, each license adding recurring dollars that finally outpaced burn rate. Growth stayed scrappy. We celebrated milestones with grocery store cake, slept in the office during crunch weeks, and patched crashes at 3 a.m. from phone hotspots. Derek handled user onboarding calls while I optimized render times on a shoestring cloud budget. By fall, we hit 200 active licenses, enough to quit day jobs and rent a tiny co-working desk. The app still glitched on older phones, but customers forgave if the visualization sold the sale. Revenue hovered steady, a lifeline thin but unbroken. By the fourth year, the numbers finally tilted in our favor and refused to look back. DesignSnap crossed 1,000 active stores nationwide, each paying an average license that pushed monthly recurring revenue to $80,000. Derek and I traded the co-working desk for a proper suite in rhino walls, painted fresh white and humming with the low buzz of new hires debugging code. Investors who once ignored our emails now scheduled pitch meetings back-to-back sliding term sheets across conference tables like playing cards. We closed a $2 million seed extension from a Denver-based fund focused on retail tech, valuing the company at $15 million post-money. The wire hit on a Tuesday morning. I stared at the confirmation email longer than necessary, half expecting it to vanish. Derek suggested celebrating with steak, but I opted for takeout feo and a spreadsheet projecting runway. The cash bought polished marketing materials, a sales team of 3, and server upgrades that shaved load times by 40%. User feedback shifted from bug reports to feature requests, a luxury problem we attacked with structured roadmaps. Stores clustered in regional pockets, chains in the Midwest adopting for holiday catalogs, independents in California, testing during remodel seasons. We added measurement overlays so customers could verify fit against doorways, integrated payment gateways for instant deposits, and rolled out analytics dashboards showing conversion lifts. Revenue compounded quietly at first, then accelerated as word spread through industry forums. I hired a product manager to own the backlog, freeing Derek to refine the core AR engine, while I handled partnerships. Personal milestones arrived unannounced. I paid off the last of my relocation credit card debt, upgraded to a reliable sedan, and started browsing real estate listings on quiet Sundays. Cherry Creek properties popped up, often modern builds with clean lines and mountain views that reminded me of rendered mock-ups come to life. One listing caught my eye: 3 bedrooms, compact infinity pool, open kitchen flowing to a deck overlooking the foothills. The asking price sat at $1.5 million, a figure that once would have seemed absurd, but now aligned with quarterly bonuses and equity vesting. I toured the villa alone on a weekday afternoon, agent chatting about school districts I didn't need. Sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling glass, warming hardwood floors that echoed under my steps. The master suite featured a walk-in closet larger than my first Denver apartment, and the lower level held a flexible space perfect for a home office or future gym. I ran numbers that night: 20% down from liquid savings, mortgage payments covered by 2 good months of revenue. The offer went in the next day, accepted after minimal negotiation. Closing felt anticlimactic: signatures on a folder, thick with disclosures, keys handed over in a branded envelope. I moved in over a long weekend, furniture arriving in waves, sectional for the living room dining table that seated 8, bed frame assembled with Allen wrenches and mild cursing. The pool filled with a soft chlorine scent, and I floated on my back one evening, watching contrails cross the sky, the water cool against skin that hadn't known manual labor in years. 7 years from the hackathon weekend warranted marking somehow. I combined the milestone with a housewarming, drafting invites that highlighted both the company anniversary and the new address. The guest list grew to include early believers, current team members, local press contacts, and a handful of industry peers who'd become friends. Catering quotes came in reasonable. I booked a mix of past apps and station bars, keeping the vibe professional yet relaxed. RSVPs confirmed a solid turnout, and I printed custom coasters with the app logo as subtle swag. Preparations consumed evenings stocking guest rooms with fresh linens, testing the sound system across outdoor speakers, arranging pickup for out-of-town investors. Cole Perry, my boyfriend by then, a steady presence through late-night launches, helped hang string lights along the deck railing and laughed when I obsessed over napkin folds. The date locked in for a Saturday, with clear forecasts, pool lights set to cycle colors after sunset. I emailed the family back in Cleveland a simple invitation with property photos attached, no price mentioned, figuring silence would be the likely reply. 3 weeks before the event, a text from Mom arrived while I reviewed final catering menus. "We're helping Chase move into his condo near the shop this weekend." It read, casual as a weather update. I stared at the screen amid spreadsheets of dietary restrictions, thumbs idle, then replied with a single thumbs up emoji and set the phone face down. The invitation had gone out months earlier. Their absence no longer surprised, only confirmed. Preparations rolled forward anyway. 50 guests confirmed, early investors who remembered ramen dinners, team members who'd pulled all-nighters, a handful of micro-influencers covering Denver design scenes, plus friends who'd become chosen family. I finalized the timeline: arrivals at 6, remarks at 7:30, poolside mingling, until the caterers packed up at 11. The menu leaned light sliders with local beef vegetarian spring rolls, a dessert station featuring miniature cheesecakes dusted with edible gold. Bartenders prepped signature cocktails named after app. Features the snapshot with citrus and gin, the render refresher sparkling with elderflower. Cole handled logistics the day before, directing delivery trucks up the curved driveway and positioning heat lamps along the deck for when temperatures dropped. We tested the playlist through hidden speakers, volumes balanced so conversation stayed easy. String lights draped the pergola in soft amber, reflecting off the pool surface like scattered coins. I walked the space one last time at dusk, adjusting chair cushions and wiping invisible smudges from glass tabletops, the house humming with anticipation. Guests arrived in waves. Jenna Long pulled up first in a sleek electric sedan, hugging me at the door and slipping a bottle of vintage Cabernet into my hands. Derek followed with his partner, both carrying a potted fiddle leaf fig as a playful nod to virtual plants. Investors mingled near the fireplace, comparing notes on recent exits, while influencers snapped stories of the open kitchen island piled with charcuterie. Laughter floated above the low jazz track, glasses clinking in steady rhythm. Riley Hart, my cousin visiting from out of state, arrived fashionably late with a professional camera slung over one shoulder. She toured the main level, wide-eyed, complimenting the flow from indoor to outdoor spaces, then requested a group photo on the deck at sunset. We gathered, Cole's arm around my waist, Derek raising a glass, Jenna laughing mid-sentence, and Riley captured the moment against the painted sky. Later, she posted the shot to Facebook with the caption, "New home vibes in Denver," and tagged me before I could preview. The evening unfolded smoothly. I gave brief remarks from the kitchen island, thanking the room for bets placed on a scrappy idea 7 years earlier. Applause rippled, genuine and warm. Guests drifted between stations, sampling bites and swapping business cards. One influencer live-streamed a quick tour of the pool area, raving about the seamless indoor-outdoor transition. Cole refilled drinks, steered conversations away from shop talk when needed, and caught my eye across the crowd with a subtle nod that everything ran on schedule. As plates cleared and music shifted to upbeat tracks, clusters formed around high-top tables. A venture partner cornered me near the bar to discuss Series B timelines. I promised follow-up emails Monday. Riley circulated with her camera, documenting candid moments, Derek demonstrating the app on a guest's phone, Jenna toasting with former colleagues. The energy stayed high without spilling into chaos, exactly the balance I'd aimed for. Cleanup began quietly while the last guests lingered over coffee. Caterers boxed leftovers, folded linens, loaded vans with practiced efficiency. Cole and I waved off the final car at midnight, the driveway emptying under security lights. The house settled into stillness, dishes humming in the washer pool, lights cycling through blues and greens. I poured 2 nightcaps and joined him on the deck. The city twinkling below, while mountains loomed dark against stars. The night had delivered everything planned, plus a few unscripted laughs. Riley texted a thumbs-up emoji before crashing in the guest suite, her post already garnering likes from mutual connections. I scrolled once, saw the photo glowing on my feed, and locked the phone. The celebration marked closure on one chapter and quiet confidence in the next family absence, a footnote rather than a headline. Morning light filtered through the blinds when my phone began its assault. Mom called 28 times in under 2 hours, each ring slicing through the quiet like a misplaced chisel. I let voicemail fill, then finally listened to the first, her voice tight, asking why I hadn't mentioned the size of the place and when exactly I planned to invite them over. Dad followed with texts spaced minutes apart, the last one blunt. How much did that house cost? I left them on read the screen, dimming against my palm. Chase messaged next, casual, as if borrowing a cup of sugar. Need 50 grand to expand the shop into custom millwork. You're loaded now, right? Payback whenever. The request landed heavier than the number, a reminder of every allowance he'd collected without earning. I typed no and blocked the thread before regret crept in. Cole glanced over from the kitchen counter, eyebrow raised, but said nothing as he poured coffee. Uncle Roy Ross called in the afternoon, his number unfamiliar until the area code registered Cleveland. He spoke slowly, the way he did at family reunions, suggesting a sit-down to clear the air and keep blood thicker than pride. Your dad's hurt, Haley. Give him a chance to see what you've built. I thanked him for the advice, explained boundaries weren't negotiable, and ended the call with a polite goodbye that felt final. The escalation arrived that evening via a public Facebook post from Mom's account. She shared Riley's photo, the one from the deck at sunset, with a caption that twisted like barbed wire. Some people forget where they came from. Sad to see family values traded for fancy pools while the real business struggles. Comments poured in from distant aunts and old neighbors, some liking, others adding prayer hands or questioning my character. Notifications stacked until I muted the app entirely. I refreshed once more out of habit and saw the post had been shared to a local Cleveland group with over 10,000 members. Replies speculated on inheritance disputes, accused me of abandoning aging parents, painted Chase as the victim holding the shop together. One commenter tagged Ross Woodworks' page asking if they'd disown me officially. The digital pile-on spread faster than any sawdust fire, strangers weighing in on a story they only half knew. Cole suggested a response. I declined. Drafting statements felt like feeding the beast. Instead, I archived the thread, removed myself from mutual groups, and turned off comments on my own profile. The villa's glass walls suddenly seemed too transparent, city lights below mocking the exposure. I poured a glass of water, hands steady despite the pulse in my ears, and watched the pool lights cycle through colors that no longer felt celebratory. Uncle Roy texted a screenshot of the post with a single sad emoji, then another message apologizing for not seeing it coming. I replied that the choice wasn't his to manage and wished him well. Mom tried calling again. I declined and powered the phone off for the night. Sleep came in fragments, dreams laced with echoing rings and captions scrolling like ticker tape. By dawn, the post had vanished, deleted, or hidden unclear, but screenshots circulated in private messages from high school acquaintances offering pity or judgment. Chase sent a voice note blaming me for stressing Dad's heart, demanding the loan again as compensation. I deleted it unheard. The fallout crystallized what 7 years of distance had only hinted at. Some bridges burned cleaner from the far side. Weeks later, the silence I enforced became permanent. I blocked every family number, Mom's, Dad's, Chase's, even the shop landline, along with their social profiles and any mutual contacts who might relay messages. Emails bounced to spam mail, returned unopened. I changed my public email, updated privacy settings, and removed location tags from old posts. The boundary drew a clean line, one I refused to redraw no matter how many bridges smoked behind me. Cole supported the decision without hesitation, reminding me that peace sometimes required amputation. Ross Woodworks felt the ripple first. Customers who once split orders between tradition and innovation shifted entirely online, citing faster turnaround and virtual previews they now expected as standard. The shop lost 35% of its steady clientele within a quarter, margins thinning until Dad shuttered the smaller satellite location on the west side. He laid off 3 longtime employees, men who'd trained me on dovetails, their severance packages trimmed to bare minimums. Suppliers whispered about late payments, and the main warehouse echoed with half-empty racks where walnut stacks used to reach the rafters. Dad's pride kept the sign lit, but the glow felt dimmer each month. Chase's spiral accelerated without the safety net he assumed endless. He took high-interest loans against the condo to fund a modern millwork division that never materialized, equipment sitting idle in a rented unit while interest compounded daily. Creditors knocked, then foreclosed. The downtown unit sold at auction for less than owed, leaving him with eviction papers, a credit score in ruins, and a duffel of clothes. He crashed on friends' couches, job applications ignored, the family name no longer opening doors it once had. One former classmate offered a warehouse night shift. Chase turned it down, claiming it beneath him. I channeled the energy elsewhere. Design Snap's charitable arm launched a fund supporting women entering tech, seeded with $50,000 annually from profits. Grants covered coding boot camps, mentorship pairings, emergency stipends for single mothers, balancing coursework with rent, and even childcare subsidies during hackathons. The first cohort graduated with job offers from local startups. Their thank you notes lined a bulletin board in the office, reminders that chosen family grew where biology failed. Derek suggested naming the fund after my grandmother, the original woodworker who taught me patience with grain. Dad's health declined under the stress, blood pressure spikes landing him in emergency rooms, doctor visits piling prescriptions, early retirement talks that never quite happened because the shop still carried his name. Mom sold heirloom tools at weekend markets to cover bills, her Facebook now filled with pleas for local support, instead of accusations, each post garnering fewer likes than the last. She tried reaching out through a cousin's account. I blocked that too. Chase enrolled in trade school at 31, learning skills I mastered at 13. Pride swallowed with every lecture on safety protocols he once mocked. The fallout taught a brutal clarity. Favoritism breeds fragility, and success, built alone, withstands storms. Others crumble beneath. Blood may bind at birth, but respect earns the right to stay. Some relatives prove not worth keeping. To everyone who stayed through every twist, thank you for listening. Drop your thoughts below. Have you cut ties that needed cutting? Share your story. Your voice might light the path for someone still deciding.